Get your NFL news and notes fix with 97.3 ESPN.com Eagles insider John McMullen. Of course, he covers the league nationally for FanRag Sports NFL. He's their national NFL columnist. So his take on a lot of these stories that are coming down day by day. Like the offseason, it's supposed to be kind of slow, John, but it seems like every day, there's some fodder out there that really I find interesting. Starting with the Adrian Peterson stuff, I was a little surprised. Jason LaCanfora, CBS, reporting that teams are almost balking at the idea of paying him $5 million on a one-year contract. You would almost think that that's a bargain for a 1 year. Like he would laugh at you for offering him that deal.
No, I think Adrian's going to be very, very surprised at what the open market will be. And we've talked about it on the show I don't think people realize Adrian Peterson is not a well-rounded running back. And I've talked about it in the past. He's not a good pass receiver. He's not a good pass protector. So basically, he's a one-trick pony. Now, in the past, that one trick has been Hall of Fame worthy. And he's one of the best pure runners to ever live. But even that, at his age, and the fact that he's had basically 2 seasons cut off, one due to off-the-field problems, another due to injury, and you're past the age of 30. We all know what that means in running back terms from the NFL's perspective. So it's just business as usual. They're not going to spend a ton of money at that position for an over 30-year-old guy who's basically a 2-down player.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I still feel like I understand what you're saying. That 30 number scares, and he's had multiple knee problems. For $5 million, though, do you take a flyer on a guy that can get you some tough yards, he can sniff the end zone? I mean, if you're a team that needs a back, I mean, for $5 million for a 1-year deal too. It's not like he's throwing out there. Well, if he's not getting 3 for 15, $5 million over 3. You're taking a flyer on a 1-year deal with this guy potentially.
Yeah, and at that point, I think you're right. Somebody will. It's not like somebody's not going to offer him that much money. But I think the other side of that is you're talking about a guy used to making a lot more than that. So does Adrian want to play for $5 million?
So what's the dynamic there? What's the dynamic there is you're a player who's used to getting paid big money. You're a Hall of Fame player. And there's no more deals for you. Do you just turn and walk away? Do you stick your tail between your legs? I mean, is this guy turning into Emmitt Smith going to the Arizona Cardinals here?
Well, yeah, I think he is. I think he's toward the end of his career. Obviously, he's not going to get back what he was at the apex with the Vikings. I don't think he's ever going to be that player. In the game, the mentality has changed. He's made a lot of money. And we've seen it happen in the past where guys are not willing to play for less money, who are used to the big stipends in the past. I don't know if that's going to be his take. I don't think it is, because I don't think he wants to go out on the year he had last year, which was basically barely played because of the injury. When he did play, he wasn't very effective. So I think he wants to come back and prove something. He's already laying the foundation. We mentioned the talk about the New York Giants. He understands he's not getting that $18 million from the Vikings. So he's got to start looking at other organizations. And he's got to make a decision. Do you want to play for $5, $6, even $7 million? Or do you just walk away and say, thanks for the memories?
Yeah, that's, I guess so many guys are like entrenched for so long, or, for a period of our fandom of the league. And like Peterson has just been at the forefront of that position for so long. And it's like weird to kind of see that a lot of today's GMs look at him as kind of a liability, an injury-prone guy that doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, and it shows you how the game has changed and it's morphed a little bit. You wonder what Peterson would have been, like if he was coming into the league now, out of college with the way his skill set is.
Well, I think his skill set, at the beginning, we're talking, as I've said, I mean, in my lifetime, he's the best runner I've ever seen. So he would have been a top 10 pick even this year, even though the position itself has been devalued. That's how dominant and good he was as a prospect. And it's proven out over his career. When he won the MVP, that was amazing that year. If you think about the Vikings had Christian Ponder playing quarterback, who, if he wasn't the worst starter in the league, was certainly amongst the 2 or 3 worst. And often the Vikings would run on 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 8, which is absurd to think about. And they would make it. That's how good he was. But he's not the same player. He doesn't have the value. Obviously, he means more to the Vikings franchise than anybody else. The Giants, Tampa Bay, Houston, anybody else you want to throw out there, they don't have a history with him. They're not going to look back at what he's done for that particular franchise. So the fact that he's got some bitterness about Minnesota and about the Vikings organization doesn't help him because he's more valuable to them than anybody else. But I don't think he's willing to take the massive pay cut to play for them.
Yeah, let's go from one big-name star on offense to a big-name star on defense. Darrelle Revis getting into some trouble. The Jets are in a spot now. If they release him, it's going to cost them $6 million. But is he worth the trouble anymore? I don't know that he had a great year this year anyway. Stemming from a weekend fight, this is all kind of coming out right now. New details in that case throughout the day today. But $6 million, that's a tough business decision to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Jets were going to move on from him even before this incident complicates some things. You could potentially garner some money back if you wait for him to be suspended, which he may or may not be, and that would take probably a lengthy period of time, so I don't know how much sense that makes. But just from a pure football perspective, I mean, yeah, he fell off a cliff last season, and it is a good comparison because he's a Hall of Fame level player who was, if not the best cornerback in football for years, certainly in the top 2 or 3, and he's no longer that. They talked about the Jets that if he did come back and they wanted him back, maybe the move to safety would be a potential thing they could look at, but I never thought it was going to get that far because he's just paid too much money, and it's almost a similar circumstance in the fact that it's also a player used to making a ton of money, and I'm not sure if he wants to go to another organization for $5 or $6 million. Same type of situation. He's made too much money in his career, and I don't think, in fact, if you ask me Revis versus Peterson, because I think Adrian has some things to prove in Revis's case, I think it's more likely than not, if the Jets do release him, and I expect them to, that he walks away.
I feel that the Revis probably, I don't know, less value than Peterson was. Somebody on the text board brought up an interesting point that the Patriots are the kind of team that gobbles up Peterson on that 1 year, like $3 million deal because he's like, you know what, I'll take less money because I'm going to New England.
Well, you can always look, and you can look at Revis going back. It's always, people tend to give the Patriots more of a flyer than other
Which is why they're $62 million under the cap.
And perhaps rightfully so. I mean, a lot of people, we see it all the time when you're younger and things get sped up, obviously, in the NFL because the career span is so short generally. But when you're 21, you're on your rookie contract, and that second contract comes up, you just want to make the money. And then maybe when you get to the end of that, and if you're still around and you haven't won a Super Bowl, you start thinking about your legacy, and you really do want to get one. And where's the place to get one?
Right.
It's New England. Let's be honest.
It's like hilarious. It's like, I need a BMW, so what do? I go to the BMW factory. I need a Super Bowl. Where do? I go to New England. I mean, it's just like ridiculous. John McMullen's with us. John, you wrote a piece at FanRag Sports NFL about left tackles, and the correlation I would make is, does Philadelphia go to Jason Peters and say, hey, we need you to take a pay cut? If he says no, do now they say, well, we've got more options on the open market than we did 2 weeks ago, so either take the pay cut or we're going to cut you?
Yeah, they do have more options, so there is a little bit more leverage, certainly from Philadelphia's perspective, the organization. And, you know, there are names out there, and I know Andrew Whitworth has been speculated as a short-term option. If they did move on from Jason Peters, I just don't think any of it makes much sense because you're going to have to pay somebody like that as much as you got to pay Jason Peters, and you don't have the continuity. You don't have the history with the organization that we just kind of talked about with AP. Jason Peters is a potential future Hall of Famer, and most of his career is spent in Philadelphia. And he had a very good season. So if you're going to pay upwards of $10 million, why do you want to give that to Andrew Whitworth? Now, if you want to go the cheaper route, as you mentioned with some of the names we talked about yesterday, whether it's Beachum, looks like Brandon Albert, the Dolphins are now contemplating trading him, so he would be very, very expensive. So if you want to go the cheaper route, you're obviously going to get a lesser player. So I still think the most likely scenario is that Jason Peters is back and Howie Roseman does a few tricks. He actually gets more money. That's my prediction. But Howie will rework it so it's better for the Eagles' salary cap situation.
I like, and by the way, as we're having this conversation, some good text messages coming in about Peterson. It seems like that is really, I think it perked up people, much like it perked me up to ask you and talk about it is, you know, now people are throwing like good fits for him, like Seattle, like that he could be kind of the, the Marshawn Lynch, and then you have Rawls, they have Procise out there. So it seems that some interesting potential fits for Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle, I don't think is a fit at all because they like Thomas Rawls. And when he's healthy, the problem with him is the fact he hasn't been able to stay on the field. And you mentioned also a very good young back who got hurt also
Procise
last season. But and when he did play, C.J. Procise was very, very good. So they're young and they have some depth. So I don't know if that's necessarily a situation. People have speculated the Giants, the Tampa Bay, Houston, because in theory they're close to being a significant contender. Maybe they'd be the kind of team that would stick their toe in the water. He's gonna have options because people are gonna say, look, this is Adrian Peterson, and we've seen what he can do, and you saw what Ezekiel Elliott was able to do for the Dallas Cowboys last season. So if you can get that kind of running game, it makes everything easier. It makes passing the ball easier, obviously, but even on the other side of the football, it takes so much pressure off your defense because if you're able to move the chains running the football, we know what that does for your time of possession and keeping your defense off the field. So he's going to get opportunities. The question is he the same type of player? And I don't think he is.
John, an interesting story because this year was marred with awful officiating. And we saw today that Jeff Triplette, the head of the Referees Association, the president of the NFL Referees Association, he has resigned. He has stepped down, and Tony Steratore will step up and become the head of the union there. I mean, is this what's going on in our political world? Where did Jeff Triplette get pressured out of that because the performance was so poor? Is he just tired of being the head of this? I find it to be a very interesting story based on all the conversations we had this year about officiating.
Yeah, no, I think this is kind of overblown. Everyone, kind of jumped the gun. It really doesn't. It's sort of like being the president of the Players Association. It really doesn't affect Jeff's standing as an official, which I think everyone would like him to resign from being a referee. But, we often have this discussion, you and I agree. We agree on the ending that the officiating is poor, you and I. But I think I take a different take at it. I think the referees, by and large, are doing what they're told to do. So I think the concern and the criticism should be leveled at what Dean Blandino and the league are instructing the officials to do. And I think it is a difference. Because when you hear Dean and he constantly says, he throws out the statistics, the average 4 mistakes a game, and the average fan shakes their head and goes, what are you talking about? The point is that they're doing what they're instructed to do. So I think the fans should understand the problem is with the rule book itself. It's not what the guys. It's sort of a blame the messenger type thing. And as long as these guys continue to do what they're told, there's not going to be any changes. The changes have to come from Park Avenue and the over-legislation of the game and things like that.
Yeah, no, I agree that we talk about this all the time. The call might be horrible, but they're making the call based on what they're being told. I just think I think the overriding thing is that the NFL has to get together with the officials and tell them, to change the way that they do things in terms of, I don't know, you throw the flag because of safety reasons, but do you have to call a penalty because of safety reasons? That's where I think the game and the officiating has gone south. Is they're just throwing flags because they think they see something that is.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah, and I think that there should be some way, and I know we talk about time and speeding the games up, but I think the fans would be more inclined to say, I threw the flag because it looked violent or it looked unsafe, but when we went and looked at it, it wasn't what we thought we saw, and that we could take that away, because there's so many times where, that looked like a helmet-to-helmet, and it wasn't a helmet-to-helmet, or a defenseless receiver. Those type of things I think they need to fix.
Yeah, and I often call it 90% of the time when you see one of those woo hits, and that's, you hear the crowd go woo because it's such a vicious-looking hit, you're going to see the flag come out. And it doesn't matter if it's legal or if it's not legal. They're just erring on the side of caution. But that's what they're told to do. And I think where we are technology-wise, it's easy to look at those plays very quickly, and they should be able to overturn those plays. And basically, they should be able to look at every play and decide if the call was made on the field correctly or not.
You think we'll get to that point where you're going to have a guy with a Surface tablet or something right on the field standing next to an official who's standing on the sideline, and that guy's really running the game?
Well, I don't even think you need that. I think it could all be done from New York. We're at that point technology-wise where Blandino's got his people in the office in New York. They're looking at every game anyway, and they can quickly make decisions about what's going on and simply radio it to the referee on the field. And to say that it would slow down the game, which the NFL is very concerned with, I think is a red herring. I think, if anything, it would speed it up. You just, instead of going under the hood and all that nonsense,
which is something they're considering.
There's
something they're considering, though, right, John? That they're going to have a Surface tablet and bring it out to the field instead of the guy going to the hood.
But you don't even need the Surface. Why do you need the Surface tablet?
What do you want them to watch the Jumbotron and make the decision with everybody else?
No, I'm saying Blandino and the officials in New York should be making the decision
like they do in hockey,
and then just into the earpiece of the on-field referee and say this is what it should be, and that would speed up things dramatically. You don't need that sort of middleman, whether it's going under the hood or the Surface tablet. It doesn't have to be made by the referee on the field. I think that kind of thinking is not taking advantage of the technology you do have.
Well, if anything,
to do it.
if anything, you put that guy in a bad spot because he's the guy that is perceived to make the decision and is now out there relaying it, and he puts him in a spot where it looks like whether or not he screwed the team one way or the other after the game. This way, it's all. I agree that like the college situation is much better, where they got someone watching games, and guess what? There's a heck of a lot more college games going on a Saturday afternoon than there is in the NFL.
Yeah, and the college way of doing it is better. You could have the one replay official up in the booth. I just think because they have so many other areas and viewpoints from New York, and there's more people in the room that understand what the call's supposed to be. I think that's the best way to get it done. And I think once people get educated to that, they're not going to blame the on-field official if they know the call is coming. You constantly see it on the broadcast, Mike. If you look at Fox, what do? They have Mike Pereira watching the plays, and they go, Mike, what should the call be? Well, why can't the NFL do that? Pereira gets it right 98% of the time.
Yeah, but the other guy, Carey, got it wrong 98%. He got it wrong 98% of the time. Well,
yeah, you definitely have to. Obviously, you got to get the right people.
But isn't that okay? You just said something that's funny. You got to get the right people who understand what they're doing. Mike Carey was an official.
Yeah. I'm not arguing that. He was bad.
I mean, Mike Carey was an official. He officiated games, and he was very well known.
I know. And he did a Super Bowl, and he did a couple Super Bowls, I believe. I'm not defending that.
Was it that he was Was it that he was horrible at his job as an official, or horrible as his job as a replay guy, or are the plays that non-transparent that it could go? You could flip a coin 50-50.
Hopefully, for his case, he was just bad. He got nervous by the immediacy of TV.
Nervous?
Whatever.
He's standing on a field in front of 70,000 people every week.
Hey, I'm not trying to defend the guy. He did a bad job on CBS. But if you look at Pereira does a tremendous job.
Yes, he's very good.
He does it quickly. So if you're telling me Dean Blandino and his staff can't do the same job, I find that very, very hard to believe. I understand. You're right. I mean, Carey was terrible at it. But I just think overall that would be the best system that makes the most sense and takes advantage of all the technological advances we've had. You have the ability to do these things. Why wouldn't you use it? I just don't understand. It's a regressive way of thinking.
Yeah, no, I agree. Look, that's one thing that I think pushes a lot of buttons for people. That the NFL needs to fix the officiating and come up with better ways to officiate these games, because it is the games are really clunky, man. They're clunky, they're slow because of it. There's no pace to these games, and the officials are a big reason why. And when we talked about the ratings, and I say, why aren't you watching games? My top reason was the games are hard to watch because, number one, you got a lot of bad matchups on those Thursday nights. We were talking about the Thursday night ratings, but the officiating is at the top of a lot of people's list.
Yeah, I mean, I constantly say the entertainment value of this league is nowhere near it once was. And I don't know if the younger generation realizes that. But it was once.
Am I in that younger generation?
Much more entertaining product. No, you're in the generation. You've seen the good product. And you kind of know.
Come on, man. Keep me in the young generation.
You kind of know the difference between how it was in the past and how it is now. And the entertainment value has gone down for a lot of reasons, many of them safety related, that the NFL can't really do much about. But there are ways to improve it, and one of them is to do a better job on the logistics of the game. And I think from an officiating standpoint, it's easy. They're making it harder than it is. College does it better. If you want to take baby steps, then go to college route because it's proven to be better than how you do it. So if you don't want to make the drastic change and just have sort of the brain trust in New York do all the heavy lifting, and you don't want to make that leap, just make a baby step and go to the college way of doing it.
All right, Johnny Mac, of course, with NFL News and Notes every day at this time on the Bash, and you can read him at JF McMullen on Twitter, FanRag Sports NFL for all his NFL news, and he's got a piece up right now. The Eagles lose another personnel executive. Read it at 97.3 ESPN.com. Have a good weekend, pal.
Hey, you too. Thanks, Mike.